Hi, I'm Izzy, and this is Dizzy Quilts and Sews. In today's video, we have a battle of the cardigans. All right, so in my August plans, I mentioned that I wanted to make a bunch of cardigans as layering pieces for my upcoming trip and then to wear throughout the fall, winter, and probably spring season because I live in a place where layering is a must during those 3 seasons. These cardigans were or are filling a gap in my closet, in my wardrobe. I have a lot of very cute tops. Most of them are in a print like this one, and I have plain or solid pants. So a bunch of different colored cardigans was a must for me to get through the fall, winter, and spring seasons. I think I have a good mix of colors. I have a good mix of styles. Some are a little bit more casual than others, but overall, I am very happy with the cardigans, the 5 cardigans I end up with. Now, I have 2 more cardigans in my closet, but they're basically repeats of what I'm going to talk about today, so I don't have pictures of those, but I will be popping pictures throughout the video so you can see how the cardigans fit on me and what the end garment or end result looks like. So let's get started. All right, so the number 1 cardigan, or the first cardigan I want to talk to you about, is the Sinclair pattern Sydney Cocoon cardigan. Now, this is a very different shape for me. Typically, when I make a cardigan, I make one with, the square hems, open in the front, fairly long sleeves, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to find a bit of a different shape just to change things up a bit. So the description of this cardigan, and I'm sorry if I look down from time to time, I've got notes, lots of notes. So the description or features of the Sydney cardigan is a cocoon style. It is semi-fitted, so it's not super oversized, but it's also not super fitted. It's got nice rounded fronts, which I loved. It's got a narrow collar band or band, and it's got fitted sleeves. Now, I have it, like I said, there's going to be pictures, and I have them all on hangers so you can see them up close. You can see that I added a label for myself. I didn't do that for all of them. I forgot for a couple of them, I think. But yeah, so fitted sleeves finished with a pretty long cuff, which is very fitted. Not too fitted though, which is something I love. I can easily push this up. So when I do dishes or wash my hands or whatever, I don't have my sleeve dragging in water. The band here at the front is pretty narrow compared to other cardigan patterns I've seen. But otherwise, yeah. Oh, and it's got some really fun pockets. They're in the side seam, but they're really big. And you top stitch them so they don't flop around. And the stitching here adds a really cool detail to the cardigan. The only thing that I find a little bit annoying about these pockets is that because the cardigan hangs open, your side seam can sometimes go towards the back. And so putting your hands in the pockets, I don't know, it feels sometimes like the pockets are way out in my back, it just feels a little bit strange. But other than that, yeah, so those are the features. The sizing on this pattern goes from extra small to XXL, accommodating a bust up to 50 inches and hips of 53.5 inches. So not bad, not the most size inclusive pattern, but not bad. It offers 3 different heights, like most Sinclair patterns, I believe. So you're going to have a tall file, a regular file, and a petite file to your pattern. I decided to go with a size XL or 18, which is what I usually make for Sinclair patterns. Now, I do like the fit. I think it fits very nicely. It doesn't give off a super oversized feel. The sleeves are very fitted. Although I can do them up here, and maybe I could do a full bicep adjustment, but on the version I made, they are very fitted up here. So what I can wear under my cardigan will need to be pretty flimsy. Probably not any bishop sleeves or anything poofy, because there's literally no room in there. The types of fabrics it recommends are basically knits with 30 to 50% stretch. I used a navy bamboo cotton from bamboo cotton fleece from Core Fabrics. It has, I think it probably has around 50% stretch. So, you know, the amount of stretch is not why these sleeves are fitted on me. I think that's just how they're designed. Or I just really needed to do a full bicep adjustment. I've got fluff on here. The instructions on this pattern are good, but they're not as detailed as some other patterns out there. So a beginner might struggle with some of the steps. I was fine, but I've been sewing for a while now, so I don't know that I would attempt this pattern as my very first cardigan pattern, especially sewing with knits and attaching the band. And yeah, so you have to kind of stretch in parts that go around for the front hems and so on. But there are some amazing tips throughout the pattern. For example, like to avoid ripply seams on a knit when you're using your serger. It tells you to play around with your differential feed, which I did, and it was miraculous. Like flat seams. It was really, really good. So the instructions are good, but not super detailed. Now, the final verdict on this cardigan, I really do like it overall. I like the long cuff. I like the round hem. I think the pockets are fun, even though they're a little awkward to get my hands into. But yeah, I'm going to make this one again because I think, like, I like the different style with the rounded bottom hem. So definitely a winner for me. The second cardigan I made is the Style Arc Cozy Cardi. Now, the pattern or the website describes it as a cardigan with slight shaping at the waist. It has a button band for buttons or snaps, and it's a concealed button band. And it hits you at the low hip and has no pockets. I liked that this cardigan gave me a more like a dressier feel because it's a little bit shorter. There are no pockets. You could put buttons or snaps. The slight shaping at the waist was really interesting for me. I liked that it, you know, went into a V at the neck. I'm sorry, Bear is being disruptive. So yeah, it just gave me a bit of an elevated feel. Sizing wise, like most Style Arc patterns, I think the size goes from a 6 to a 30. I made a size 20 based on my measurements, but I've since learned that a lot of people are needing to size down in Style Arc patterns across the board. So, you know, hindsight, I should have sized down to an 18. So keep that in mind. Also, the sleeves are very long. So I removed 2 inches from the sleeves and they're still like pretty long. But I like my cardigan sleeves very long, so that's not a problem. All right, I'll be back. All right, where was I? So yes, sleeves are long. So that's for sizing. The fabric I used is a black cotton jersey from the Fabric Snob. This is their Luxe cotton jersey, and I have to say the quality is amazing. It's very soft. It's got a lot of body. I'm now noticing it's covered with bare hair. So yeah, so that's the fabric I used. I had 2 meters of 60-inch wide fabric, and I have about a half a meter left. So, you know, 1.5 yards or 1.5 meters, you can probably whip this up. The instructions. So this was my first style arc pattern, and I had a giggle when I looked at the instructions because they were basically a numbered list that was about this long in the pattern. That's it. So this, so that, do this, do that. That's the extent of it. No tips, very, very few diagrams. I mean, only 2 of the steps had pictures that went with them. And at one point, sewing the facings. So you have facings in the front that go around the neck and all the way down. The instructions for sewing that on the cardigan were so confusing to me. I basically disregarded them and just did my own thing based on the very many cardigans I've put together so far. And yeah, it worked out fine. It just, yeah, they fit. They're good. The seam allowance on this pattern is only 1/4 of an inch. Now, I know that typically indie patterns have smaller seam allowances, but I'm used to sewing with Love Notions patterns or Itch to Stitch or Cashmeret, which all have either a 1/2 inch seam allowance or 3/8. Now, 1/4 I found was really small. Now, I know there's not a huge difference between 1/4 inch and 3/8 of an inch, but that 1/8 to me makes a difference. So I was very surprised to see 1/4 inch seam allowance. Also, just a note, the seam allowance is nowhere to be found in the pattern instructions, but when you print your pattern in your size, you have the sewing line and the cutting line on your pattern. So I measured the distance between the 2 lines, and that basically gave me 1/4 inch, and that's your seam allowance. But nowhere in the pattern does it say that, which I thought was interesting. So not a difficult sew. If you've sewn cardigans before, if you've sewn facings on before, you probably don't even need instructions, to be fair. But if you're an absolute beginner and you still rely on very detailed instructions, yeah, I don't know that I would go for this pattern. Also, I did search for either a sew along or a tutorial and couldn't find any. Now, my Googling skills might not be up to par, mind you, but I couldn't find any additional support for this pattern. All in all, I do like it. Like I said, when I make this again, and I probably will, I will size down because the shoulders are too big, are too wide, and it gives the cardigan a more casual look when the shoulders don't fall exactly where they need to. And that's really not the look I was going for. I'm still going to wear this. I like that it, forms a V. I did not put any buttons on my cardigan. I'm going to wear it open. I prefer that. So yeah, all in all, it's a good cardigan. It fits me. I will wear it. I probably will make it again, but in a size 18 next time. Next, I made a Sinclair Harper cardigan. Now, I've spoken about the Harper on the channel before. It is one of my TNTs. When I need a very quick cardigan, the Harper is what I go to. The Harper is a free pattern. It's available in 4 lengths. You can have cropped, classic, long line, or duster. You again have the different heights, so the tall, regular, petite. You can have pockets, and yeah, it's a relaxed fit, so it's not tight anywhere. Yeah, it's just a relaxed cardigan, basically. I made the classic. Now, typically I make the long line in the Harper. I like longer cardigans. This time I decided to go with the classic, and I did put the patch pockets on it. Sizing is 0 to 30. I made my regular size 18 and the regular height. I used a French terry, a red French terry from the Fabric Snob. This is again their Luxe French terry. Loved sewing with this thing, and I absolutely love this color on me. This is such a vibrant, bright red. I don't know if the camera does this red justice. It's pretty amazing. The pattern does call for light to medium weight knits with at least 50% stretch, and this French terry fits the bill perfectly. The instructions on the Harper are really, really good, and it's got great illustrations. It's perfect for a beginner's first cardigan project. Perfect. Everything lines up properly. It's really, really fast and easy to make. So not much else to say about the Harper. It's a great pattern, and all of that for free. So if you haven't gotten it yet, seriously, you need to go and get yourself the Harper cardigan and make one up, because it's pretty amazing. I think it took me about an hour from cutting to sewing to taking pictures, like really, really quick one. So yeah, I love the pockets. It's super comfortable. It's a winner. Next up is the Cashmeret Fuller cardigan. Now, this is a pattern that is not a club pattern. It's part of their regular catalog, and it came out a little while ago. I purchased the pattern very recently because I didn't realize that there were 2 views on this pattern. One that ends at the waist. I thought that was the only view, but no, they have one that ends at the high hip, which is what I decided to make. Now, this is a raglan sleeve cardigan. I love a good raglan sleeve. It's got shoulder and bust darts for shaping, which I thought was so, so cool. Like the shoulders fit so perfectly thanks to this dart. Like I said, there are 2 views. The cropped view, or the one that ends at the waist, has a high round neck. And then the one that ends at the high hip has a nice V-neck. You can make long sleeves or 3/4 length sleeves. So yeah, the sizing, as with all Cashmeret patterns, is really, really good. You have a 0 to 32, and you also have bust cups from C to H. I made a size 16 GH graded to a 20 at the waist, which is what I make now for all my Cashmeret patterns. Now, it did end up tight. Like, I'm not going to say fitted. It's tight when buttoned up, because I did make the buttons on this one. So I'll probably always wear it open, and I like how it fits open. But if I were to ever want to make this and close it, I think I would have to grade up to a 18 GH, possibly grading to a 22 at the waist and hips. And again, I'm not sure if it's the fabric I use. I mean, it calls for mid-weight knits with at least 15% stretch. I used a bamboo cotton French terry from a store called Fabrications here in Canada. It has the required stretch, definitely, but this is very snug over like the entire body, like snug in the bust, the waist, and the hips. So when I make this again, if I plan on wearing it closed, I'm going to definitely size up. The instructions are very, very good. I mean, the instructions are detailed in terms of giving you all of the steps. They, you know, tell you things like how to press your seams and when to finish your seams and all that good stuff. They don't, there's some things that they assume you know. So it's not as detailed as, you know, like a Helen's Closet pattern would be, for example, but it's still very, very good. There are lots of illustrations, and I like the finishing on this pattern. So at the hem, for example, have you do like mitered corners, and mine turned out really good. I'm very pleased with mine. Thank goodness for my quilting skills. I love that there are darts in this pattern, both at the bust and at the shoulder. Yeah, it's a really, really nice pattern with good instructions. Now, I used Pigeon Wishes buttons that I got from So Natural Dane. Look at these buttons. Look how beautiful they are. I'm going to put a link to Natita's online shop. She's got these buttons. Hopefully they're still in stock, but she's got other ones if she doesn't. And I think they just add a really, really fun touch. Now, I did run into issues sewing these buttonholes on my machine. You've got quite a few thicknesses there with the button band and the interfacing and everything. And my machine was resisting all of those thicknesses. I've since learned that I can reduce the pressure on my foot to make it a little bit easier. So I will try doing that next time. I mean, the buttonholes came out reasonably well. I mean, they're not bad at all. But yeah, my machine struggled a tiny bit. The final verdict on the Fuller cardigan, it is a winner. It is definitely not a super quick sew. Like I've seen people make like the Blackwood cardigan, for example, in under an hour or just about an hour. This took me 2 evenings. Mind you, I'm pretty slow, and I take lots of breaks and I get distracted a lot, but it took me 2 full evenings of sewing after work until I went to bed. So definitely not a super quick sew, but talk about elevated cardigan. I love this thing. Love, love, love. So definitely will make this again in a bunch of different colors because this is perfect for work. And the last one is the Blackwood cardigan by Helen's Closet. Now, the Blackwood is a favorite of many people within the sewing community. If you go to the hashtag on Instagram, you will see thousands of pictures. I myself have made 4 or 5 of them now. It's another super, super quick one to make. Now, the Blackwood is designed to be semi-fitted from the shoulders down to the bust, and then a little bit more relaxed around the waist and hips. It does not close, so there's definitely no overlap. It's meant to be worn completely open. The sleeves are crazy long, like really, really long. You can probably end up with mittens if you don't adjust them. It comes in 2 views, one that is at the high hip and one mid-thigh. I decided to go with the longer version. Yeah, and the sleeves. Oh, I made a full bicep adjustment, a 1/2 inch, I believe I did, a 1/2 inch full bicep adjustment on the sleeves to that pattern because they are really tight, like uncomfortably tight on me. So keep that in mind. If you have strong arms, you may need to do a full bicep adjustment on the pattern. Sizing goes from a 0 to a 30. and it has 2 different cup sizes. So sizes 0-22 are in a B cup, and then sizes 12 to 30 are in a D cup. I went with a size 18 with the D cup, and like I said, made a 1/2 inch full bicep adjustment. The fabric I used is a pretty lightweight double brushed poly in red and white that I got from Jen from Today in Jen's Sewing Room when we all met up in Florida back in March. I had just about 2 yards of this fabric, and it was just enough to make the cardigan. The pattern calls for light to medium weight fabric with at least 40% stretch, so the double brush poly was perfect. It's actually stretchier than 40%, and this makes this cardigan extra comfortable because, yeah, the fabric just nice, like it stretches around you and doesn't hug you too tightly, so it's really, really good. The instructions on this pattern, like the instructions on Helen's closet patterns in general, are excellent, especially if you're a beginner. So this is another one that's really, really good for beginners. Helen holds your hand through the whole thing. She is very detailed, lots of illustrations, lots of tips and tricks. Yeah, the pattern, like there are a lot of pages to her pattern instructions because she is really, really detailed. Now, the final garment I like, but I made mistakes sewing it up that, yeah, I wish I hadn't made. So the first thing is I didn't even think about pattern matching the stripes from the band with the cardigan itself. And at least like they line up across, at least that, but it annoys me that they're not matching up, and I don't have enough fabric to cut a new one. So I'm just going to have to live with it, but it does annoy me a little bit. To avoid that, like at the sleeves, I basically cut the cuffs in the other direction. Also, no pattern matching at all down the sides. I think this other side is much better, but I don't know if it's because this fabric wasn't printed on grain or what it was, but yeah, I had a really tough time pattern matching this stripe. I mean, the cardigan is super comfortable. It looks really cute with a white tee, so I will wear this, definitely wear it, but it's probably not the favorite Blackwood I've ever made. But highly recommend the pattern. It's a pretty good one. All right, so 5 different patterns, 5 really good cardigans. Now, I did say this was going to be a battle, so is there a clear winner? Not really. And that is because all 5 were good. All 5 have different styles, different features, and they fill different needs in my wardrobe. So when I want something a little different, a little cozier, then I might go for the Sydney and the Cocoon shape. If I need something for the office that's really going to elevate the look, not be too formal because my office setting is pretty casual, then I can go for the Stylark or the Cashmeret cardigans. And when I want something to wear over a tank or a t-shirt, leggings, then I can go either for the Harper or the Blackwood. So different styles, different needs. They're all winners in my mind. But I would love to hear or read what your thoughts are on all 5 patterns and all 5 finished cardigans. Have you made any of them? Have you been thinking of making any of them? Are you now tempted to make any of them? I would love to know, so leave that in the description or in the comments box below. I will be linking out to all of these patterns down in the description, so I'm not affiliated. I don't get any type of commission or anything like that. But if you did get tempted, you can use those links to go shopping. All right, well, thank you so much for stopping by today. Please give the video a like on your way out if you liked it, and consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks again, and I will see you soon.